Welcome to more creative films.
Welcome to the More Creative Films podcast. We have a special guest today. Of course, Joe is with me today. We had just talked about the Duke of Earl. Now we have a special guest, one of the stars of the film Duke of Earl. He's a pastor. He was an actor. Now he's out in Austin just doing it big in Texas.
Amen.
Molina, a.k.a. Cisco from the Duke of Earl. Welcome.
All right. Thank you for having me, Paul. It's a pleasure to be able to share with you guys some history of the Duke of Earl, also with Joe. I believe Joe is his name, right, Joe?
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, also to be with Joe and just a fellowship. I mean, we're going to talk about the movie, but I think it's just really good that we're able to fellowship as believers and be able to really honor the Lord and then honor the men and women that kind of paved the way for us, and did my pastor and different people that paved the way and made movies and different ways, different tools to be able to minister the gospel in different ways. They really paved the way for us. And so I'm very grateful for today just to be able to fellowship with you guys and talk history.
Awesome, bro. Yeah. Speaking of history, we're going to get into the movie. But before we do, I want to know, where did you grow up and how did you get saved?
Okay, so originally my family, my mom and dad are from the Santa Barbara area, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria. And my dad migrated up north to San Jose when he was young. And so when he moved up to San Jose, he lived his life there and all that. And then he met my mom. They got married. She was from Santa Barbara. She moved up there too. They got married. In about 1975, we moved out of San Jose. 74. We moved out of San Jose and moved back to Santa Barbara. So we kind of went back and forth to Santa Barbara and San Jose. So when we moved to Santa Barbara, that's when I began as a young man. We were introduced, and now Santa Barbara, as you know, it's a really nice city, beautiful city. But they also have, the little neighborhoods going on. Back then, when I was living there, it was more like the cities fighting. Oxnard would come in, Chiques during the fiestas. Carpinteria, Goleta, all those different areas, Santa Maria, all those little cities and all that, and things would go on at that time. So that's when I was first exposed to like the neighborhood or exposed to the street life. I was a young man, but I saw my oldest brother, Louis, involved with his neighborhood, and we were kind of like little peewee young guys watching these guys. And so my mom and dad got a divorce there in Santa Barbara. And so what happened was when the divorce happened, we all scattered. And so my mom did everything to try to keep us on the path of just sports and different things. But I was too intrigued with the streets and what my brothers were doing. So finally at about 12 years old, I quit playing sports. I stopped everything, started to dress up, throwing on the winos, the khakis. And I just wanted to be with my brothers and that lifestyle, and I was exposed to all that stuff, getting high, running around, fighting. My brothers loved to fight. One of them was a stabber. I hate to say it, but he liked to stick, and the other one was a brawler, liked to use his hands. So I was exposed to all that, and so I was interested in it, and I was open. And so that's what I started to kind of run the streets and all that stuff. So about 1980 or so, my dad said, listen, we're leaving Santa Barbara. We're going back to San Jose. And he said, me and your mother aren't getting back together again. It's not going to happen. So we moved back up to San Jose. And as we moved to San Jose, that's when Pastor Ed and Mitzi had just started the church. And they were there in 79. They got there in 79. So in 1980, I was in school. I got in a fight. I got thrown out of school. And my dad went and picked me up. Heard that I got thrown out of school because I was living with my aunt, and he picked me up in his van, and he said, "I'm going to take you somewhere. I'm going to take you somewhere where they'll teach you a lesson. You think you're bad, you think you're tough." I didn't know where he was going to take me, Paul. I really didn't. He was mad at me. I was getting thrown out of school for fighting a lot, so he put me in the van and he took me to Pastor Ed and Mitzi's house, and that was at that time the house was the church. It was Pastor Ed and Mitzi's home, and it was the men's home and the women's home all in one house. So he took me in there, And he walked me up the stairs, and I saw all these guys, man, tattooed down, big roshas, reading their Bibles, praying. And I'm looking at these dudes like, I never seen anything like this in my life. And my dad told me, he goes, there's a guy here named Ed. My dad referred him to Ed all the time, Ed, he's a pastor, and he has a church here. And you guys, you need to come here. And that's how he was telling us. So Pastor Ed came out of his room, and my dad literally introduced me to Pastor Ed and the church and the ministry, and kind of fronted me off, said, this is my son. He's a punk. He thinks he's bad, and he needs to get saved. That's how my dad would witness to us and tell us, you're just a punk. You're a punk, and you guys, you ain't bad. You ain't nothing. You need to give your heart to Jesus. So my dad is the one that brought me to Victory Outreach at the age of 15 years old. And he, brought me to the ministry. I met Pastor Ed and Mitzi. I really didn't think I was going to serve the Lord. I didn't, because I was young. I was still wanting to do the things in the world. I was involved in a relationship, little puppy love, boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. So I had no intentions of really serving God. But the impact that Pastor Ed and Mitzi made in my life, I was never the same. I mean, they really, really adopted us, and we were troubled youth, me and my brother and my family. So they brought us in, and they shared the love of God with us. They shared the gospel, and it affected me. It impacted me. So even when I was undecided about serving God, is this what I want to do the rest of my life? I battled my salvation the first year or so, but I still would go to church, and I would still kind of like going out on the side and didn't really understand the commitment of serving God. But at the same time, God was dealing with my life and dealing with my brother. So finally we came to a place of commitment and really, really serving God. And we cut loose everything, the lifestyle, we cut loose everything. We weren't going out anymore, hanging with the homies, all that. And so we gave our hearts to Jesus, and we were teenagers. And this is when Victory Outreach Church was probably in attendance, was probably 20 people at that time. And over the years, it turned into, well over 1,000, through the course of the 40 years. But we were some of the early converts that got saved with Pastor Ed and Mitzi. So he shared his whole life with us. He took us in. He took us camping. He baptized us. He shared the word of God with us. He did everything. He impacted us. He impacted us so much. So we couldn't help but fall in love with God and to make a commitment to the Lord and to live right. And so as we got saved and started serving the Lord, I wasn't even saved probably less than 6 months, maybe 3 months. And he told us, we're going to start a play, and all of you are going to be in it. And we were like, a play? What are you talking? I didn't know nothing about a play. The only thing I could think about a play of the neighborhood and different that was Zoot Suit. Remember when Zoot Suit came out, the drama, when it was in LA for 2 years straight, it was sold out every, I don't know how many days, but it was. So I knew about that kind of drama, Zoot Suit. But he said, we're going to do a play. And if you want to be in the play, I want you to be here at my house Saturday, and we're gonna do the play. He goes, and this is what he told us. He goes, we're gonna go into the YAs, the youth authorities up north in Stockton. I think it was either O.H. Close or Carl Holton and DeWitt Nelson. We never made it into Preston, but it was those three youth authorities that were, popping back then. And so we met on a Saturday, and there was a good group of us, and he just divided us. He said, okay, this is going to be one neighborhood, this is going to be other neighborhood, and this is the storyline. So he started explaining it to us, and we're looking at him like, we didn't understand. We couldn't connect the dots of what was going to take place here. And then he said, so this is what's going to happen. So he started giving us our characters, and he started telling us what's going to happen. And he goes, this is the amazing part, Paul. My pastor had went to the youth authority 2 weeks before that, and the chaplain told him, hey, do you have anything that you could bring to relate to these young guys and these young guys that are locked up? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I got to play. But he didn't have one yet, but he had it in his heart. And the guy, he goes, I'll be back in 2 weeks to bring a drama, something that will, a skit or a drama that we could show. And the chaplain goes, okay. So pastor came back, and that's when he said, hey, we're putting together a play. He goes, we got to have it ready in a week because we're going to YA. We said, YA? We're like, we're going to go in there. He goes, yeah, and we're going to preach the gospel, and we're going to, how God is able to change a gang member's life through this play. So we said, okay. So he started the practice. I really don't think he intended or even had in his mind that he thought it would blow up to what it did. So what happened was we practiced, we got ready. The next following weekend, we got in a van. We drove to Stockton, California, and I forgot which youth authority we went into first. But we went in there, and there was Sureños there, Norteños, Crips, Blood, you name it. Everybody was in there. And we were in this auditorium. And as soon as the oldies went on, man, it lit up the whole, because we had, the oldies were playing a lot of East Side Stories and different stuff. So, man, the dudes from the neighborhood are like, you guys are representing, the raza, all right, because the oldies came out and everybody came out khaki down. So it lit up the whole place. And so they thought they were just going to be entertained. So all of a sudden we did the play. Duke gets stabbed at the end, different, all the different segments of the play. And at the end of the play, my pastor went out there and did an altar call. And when he did an altar call, that's when he knew there's an anointing upon this play. Because as all the gang members, Norteños and Sureños, were at the altar, broken, giving their hearts to Jesus, then he knew he was onto something, and so did we. We were like, we could not believe what we were seeing. That was almost unheard of back then. It was almost unheard of to see, within Victor Outreach, gang members always getting saved, but through a drama and relating to them was like, wow, it was mind-blowing. Wow. So after that, we came back, and then Pastor Ray goes, you know what? We're going to do it on every side of San Jose. We're going to do the north side, the east side, the south side, and the west side. We're doing all four sides, and we're gonna show this drama everywhere. So we started doing it every 2 weeks. We were doing it in a high school auditorium. Even one time we did it in a Catholic church, like their fellowship hall. We did it there, a big hall they had. All of a sudden, gang members from all over San Jose were coming in, and they were hearing the gospel. They were getting saved and giving their hearts to Jesus. And it became just an explosion of the movie, of the play. And from then on, it was history. From there on, we traveled all over. And actually, I think the Duke of Earl was a bigger hit in LA than anywhere else. Because when we would do it out there, it was just, we did it at the International Club 5 times in one day. We did the play at the International Club. It was back-to-back performances starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to almost midnight. And it was just back-to-back performances and packed it out. And we did all over Southern California, all over Northern Arizona, Texas, Chicago, Hawaii, Washington, Colorado, and a number of other places. So from there on, it was history. The play picked up momentum. It was sought after. A lot of people wanted it. And then,
excuse me, Vince.
Yeah.
Was it, during this time when you were touring around, were you always Cisco, or did you have to jump in other places?
I always played Cisco. It's a good question you're asking me. I always played Cisco in Duke of Earl 1. I was always Duke's little brother. That's all I ever played. That's all I ever played in Duke of Earl 1. But in Duke of Earl 2, Pastor Red would mix it up sometimes. And so he would have me sometimes. This is funny. In Duke of Earl 2, doors started opening in Southern California for I want to say Watts, not Watts, but a lot where the black community is at. What's it called again?
Compton. Compton.
I'm sorry, Compton. The whole area, South Central LA. Doors started opening up for us to do the play there, and also in Oakland, California, a lot where there's a lot of the black community. So Pastor had told me, he told all of us, okay, we're going to put a black Duke in there. And there was a guy by the name of Lauren Morrison. He was a black brother, good brother in the Lord. He goes, he's going to be playing the Duke. When we go into these neighborhoods, Vince, you'll sit out and Lauren will take over and he's going to be the Duke. Wow. We said, amen. Because he was very creative, my pastor. And he wanted to be able to relate the gospel to every walk of life, every color, every aspect of society. He wanted to be able to relate. So there was times when I would sit out. This is in Duke of Earl 2. And Lauren would play my part. And we would go back and forth.
Now when you were when you were doing Duke of Earl 1, when you were touring around before the movie, was your wife Ginger Shygirl? Was she always
Always, she was always Shygirl.
Were
She
you?
was.
Did you already have a connection? Were you already thinking this could be the one?
You know what? I've always loved her, if I could say that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always, from the time I met her, and there's a whole story behind that. It would be here all day, but one day I'll run it down to you. But when I first met her and saw her, man, my heart jumped out of my chest. I felt like, man,
Yeah.
this is the woman. But I never said it to her. I never told her anything.
Yeah.
And we served the Lord together in the church. We were just brothers and sisters in the Lord. I never told her, hey, me and you, how about let's pray about it? I always left it alone. I respected her. We did ministry together. But in my heart and my mind, I always thought, man, she would be a great woman that I would love to spend my life with, you know?
Yeah.
But I never told her. And I didn't tell her till after the movie. I had moved to LA. I was going to Latin American Bible College in La Puente. I went to Bible college, and when I went back to San Jose, those feelings were still there. And so I finally told my pastor, I said, I feel like this is a woman for me. And he goes, okay, amen. Well, pray and let's talk. And we finally brought it out, and I told her how I felt. She told me how she felt. And here we are 35 years later. We've been married. The 18th will be 35 years that we've been married. We have 3 kids and 4 grandsons.
Beautiful. For those of you watching that don't know, we're going to be having Cisco, which is Vince, and Ginger, which is Shygirl, on our next episode. They're going to be together with us,
Right.
with Joe. Joe, I want to give you a second to ask a question, but before we do, after Joe's question, can you lead us into how you guys started filming the movie and how all that?
Right.
But Joe,
Yes.
you got a question?
Yeah, I got like 40. I'll
Go
narrow
for it,
it
Joe.
down. I'll narrow it down, though. I'll narrow it down.
Go for it, brother.
You want me to ask my question right now?
Yeah.
All right. My question is this: in the movie, it's a movie question.
Right.
You know, that part where Pastor Ed gets socked in the
Yeah.
store. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and that scene, man, I was telling Paul in the interview that, man, that is a lasting impression in me when he got just his feeling, like the emotion, like you could feel like God's love, you know, coming out of him. And, and I know, like, well, we've been on movie sets, you know, a lot, and we know, like, when the actors are doing their job, you know what I mean? Like, they do a great job. But with this right here, not comparable to anybody, I mean, you could really feel what happened.
Right.
Part 2 to that is that I found out like a couple years ago that Pastor Ed was my mom's cousin, and I never knew that till barely a couple years ago. But then my primo son, he called me last night. He's like, "Hey, did you know that when they filmed that scene, that Pastor Ed had told everybody, hey, I want you guys, when we're brawling, I need you guys to really brawl. They need to really feel it, that it's, you know, real." And I guess Pastor Ed really got socked accidentally.
Yes. That I was sharing with Paul the other day. We were talking. I can't even put into words, Joe, how that moment happened right there, because that was a God moment. It really was. And I think when that happened, he wasn't supposed to get hit. It was supposed to be like the angle of the camera just makes it look like but on accident hit him, and it really hit him. And I think, to be honest with you, I think it was, I know it would hit me like this. It would be a little bit embarrassing or humiliating, you know, that when things happen, it's kind of embarrassing, or kind of like, wow, you know, you get hit, you're the pastor, you get hit in front of all your congregants. You would feel a little, you know, man, it like, wow, embarrassed, or feel like, wow, you know, I don't know. All I know is this, is that when it did happen, it wasn't planned. But when it happened, it's like the Holy Spirit came in at that scene. We all got quiet, and he just kind of, from the cuff, began to just preach to all of us there. Nobody said a word. Everything you see in the movie is exactly how it happened. It was silence. We just listened, and then the Holy Spirit, really, you could feel the presence of God. And then because he was broken too, you know, he was broken, maybe because of the hit, not because it hurt him, but just like he took a blow, you know, and you're on film, you know, and not everyone likes to be, you know, televised, and you know that's going to be on film, that you get hit or whatever. But it was a God moment. It really, really was. And so when he got hit and he went back and then he started preaching, we just got quiet. And then you could, like I said, you could feel the presence of God come in. It's nothing we could have rehearsed. We couldn't have redid that whole scene if we wanted to. It's like it was supposed to be like that. It was a God moment. And so when it happened, we were quiet. But some of us, like when we filmed it, I didn't know he really got hit. I didn't know it till after they said cut. Pastor Ed was like, wow, you know, he was still emotional, but and then they go, Robert really hit him. I go, oh, he got hit. He goes, you really hit him. I go, so not all of us knew that, but we just knew that something happened on that scene. And you know what, I really believed it was ordained of God. It kind of like had to happen that way, you know, and that scene right there touches a lot of people. A lot of people.
Yeah, it did me for sure. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And like you just feel it, see it. I mean, everything about that scene. And
right.
What was the conversation after, like between, like Robert?
It was silence.
Oh,
it was kind of like everybody just walked away, and those that I think knew that he really got hit just kind of stayed away, because it was not that he was mad or anything. Just like you felt bad. You felt like, wow, that's our pastor. You know, you love him, and you're like, we know that wasn't planned, and he really got hit. So we kind of like, it was quiet. He walked away, kind of just got himself together a little bit, and that was it.
Incredible.
Nobody felt bad or worse than Indio, you know, for that, you know, that accident.
Right.
For Robert to hit him, like probably felt terrible, you know.
Yeah. It was a heavy scene. It took place right there at Hammer and Lewis in San Jose, downtown.
Yeah. Take us to how you find out. How did the whole movie start? How did it begin? And then I start filming, and were you scared and all that?
Yeah, everything. Okay, so the movie the play became a success all over. And I know Pastor Sonny recognized it because we were showing it a lot in LA. So we were onto something. God was really, there was an anointing upon this play. But Pastor used to always tell us, we're going to make this into a movie. And we would say, yeah, right. I mean, we're not actors. We're not movie stars. How is this going to happen? He would already say, somehow, some way, we're going to make this into a movie. And so we were just like, okay, yeah, sure. We didn't know. So we kept on doing the play. So then after a couple of years, Pastor Sonny, he had seen it. And at that time, Sister Julie, Pastor Sonny's wife, was working for TBN, Jan and Paul Crouch. So I guess they began to talk with him to say, hey, you know, we have this play that we want to turn into a movie. It's very successful. God is using it to reach gang members. So I guess Jan and Paul Crouch said, hey, man, we want to help you guys. And so they're the ones that basically sponsored it, are all the camera crew, the trailers, the lights. They showed up. They're in LA, and we began to start filming in different parts of LA and also San Jose. So we filmed in San Jose and LA, but they were the ones that pretty much, they're the ones that sponsored it or put it together. They filmed it, the lights, the camera. I mean, they had those big giant cameras. I remember this one camera. I still remember the guy's name, Sergio. He was a cameraman. He had this big chest plate, like a harness with a swivel on it. And he was all over the place with that thing. So it wasn't a little, a little camera, you know, it was these big cameras. It was video. I think they just came out, I think. I'm not sure, but this is in 84.
What year?
Excuse me?
What year was
84. 84. Yeah. And then it came out in 85. We filmed in 84 and it came out in 85. So they showed up. They had the lights, the camera, the makeup people, you name it. We were blown away. We had never done anything like this in our life. And this was, so it became a reality. The dream and the vision that Pastor Ed had of making this a movie became a reality. And it took us about, 3 weeks to a month to do it. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Wow. Incredible. So you were like filming in LA, San Jose, everywhere, right?
Yeah, just majority, I would say 75, 80% of it was LA, and then the rest was San Jose. My grandmother's, where Duke is talking to his grandmother, that was actually my house. That was my grandmother's house. We filmed in my grandfather's and grandmother's bedroom. The gun that he has that he's wiping down, that was my grandfather's gun. It was a 38, I believe. And that was filmed.
Who was grandma?
Her name was Miss Cadena. She was from Los Angeles. Wow. Yeah, she was from the Mother Church. And I think she's passed away since. She was a great job.
You did a great job.
She was good.
The whole movie was great. I mean, and honestly, like watching it, as a fan, it was like great, man. Like I said, it had funny parts, but at the most part, it was impacting through God. You know what I mean? But
Right.
now looking at it, like being in the movie business with Paul and doing all this, and I watched it the other night again. Like it was amazing that honestly, you guys, everybody, I didn't see no cheesy actors. Everybody in that movie like looked like they had done a ton of movies. You know what I mean?
No, none of us.
It has to be God. It has to be God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The play
Yeah.
preparing them. The play they were acting. They were preparing.
Yeah.
They were preparing.
Yeah.
You know what to play.
I think the play prepared us for it. I think it did. It helped us, but it was a whole different level of acting and doing. There was a scene where I was supposed to be angry and mad at Duke right when I stabbed him on accident. I couldn't get into my part. I don't know what was going on, and so Sergio, the cameraman that worked for TBN, came up to me out of the blue, didn't say nothing to me, came up to me in front of me, looked at me, and shoved me in my chest. And I was like, I laughed, and I go, hey, what are you doing, Sergio? He didn't smile. He shoved me again. He was punking me in front of everybody. And I was like, and he wasn't saying anything. And I was like, man, what's up with this guy? And he kept shoving me. I laughed it off for the first minute, but then I started getting mad because he didn't tell me what he was doing. And then he goes, okay, we got his face now. Because by that time I was irritated and I was mad.
Yeah.
And then we did the part. I don't agree with his tactics, but it worked because whatever facial expression I had, he gave it to me because he just started shoving me and embarrassing me in front of everybody and got me mad. And then we filmed and it came out all right.
That's good. That's great.
Hey, we got a ton of questions, right?
Yeah, I'm ready.
But you know, like this is people like me and Joe. We watch this since we were kids, bro.
Right.
So we want to know all the behind the scenes stuff. One, did you start to get like known around when you go to the gas station? You know what I mean? When people say, hey, you know that. And then two, being that now you're married, tell us about that porch scene at the beginning. You know, let's go to the Crows. Tell us about that.
Okay, so yeah, the character Cisco, it was a big character. I mean, it was you know, people fall in love with characters in movies, and people really, really like the character of Cisco, and it just happened that way. I don't know, but it was a great character to play, but it did draw a lot of attention, a lot more than I expected, and a lot more than I wanted. There was many times we did the play, and being married and doing that part with and women and girls coming at you, and I mean really coming at you, putting their phone numbers in your shirt, you know, trying to hug you, will you sign, you know, your name, you know, we did autographs all the time. It was more than I probably could handle and understood at that time. But my pastor always shared with us that we are to remain humble. We're servants, and with or without you, we're going to do this play. If you're not around, God's going to raise up somebody else. So, you know, what you're doing is you're serving. You're before you're an actor, you're a servant of the Lord, and we are to keep our testimony right. So this character really was, as you know, is real popular. And so whenever I would go different places, people would recognize us, or sometimes they recognize my wife's voice before they recognize her face. They'll hear her talk and they'll say, hey, are you Shygirl? I recognize your voice. That's happened to us. And there's a funny story here, Paul. This is pretty amazing. This happened about 3 or 4 years ago. I went back to San Jose to go visit, and I have a nephew that's been on the streets. He's a drug addict, and he's pretty much homeless. And my sister told me where he's at, and it's a place called the Jungle in San Jose. It's a creek bed, and there's hundreds of people that live there. I mean, families. I know there's a problem like that in Santa Ana. I believe there's a whole area that I've seen on where it's homeless. Well, that's the same thing. So me and my brother decided to go look for my nephew, and this is only like 3 or 4 years ago. So we went to the creek, to the jungle, and I looked down. You could see all the homeless shelter, all the homeless little tents. And I'm looking, and this girl comes out. You know, she's a drug addict, and she looks at me and she goes, "Who are you looking for?" And I go, "I'm looking for my nephew." and his name is, and I told her his name. And then she looks at me, she goes, hey, you're Cisco from the Duke of Earl, huh? And I go, man, it blew me. And she goes, and then she called her friends out. They came out of their tent. They go, hey, that's Cisco. This is 35 years later. I mean, 3 years ago. Yeah, about 31, 32 years later. And they still remember the character. And they were like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm here looking for my nephew. But that has gone on for years. And even years later, people still recognize. I mean, we're getting older now. I'll be 55 next month. Can't stay young forever. But nevertheless, those characters have always stood out in people's lives, always, And it was pretty neat to do.
Hey, we didn't forget the porch scene, bro. We're not letting you go.
Oh, okay. Porch scene. Okay, so the porch scene. We're there in front of the house. I'm shining my shoes. And then Pastor Ed says, okay, this is what's going to happen. Some of the stuff we would ad-lib. And he says, okay, so she's gonna talk to you, and then I want you to put her on your lap. And I said, oh, okay. Amen. I didn't resist that one. I said, amen. And I said, okay, well, this is part of what we're going to do. So, we started filming, and then she sat, and so we started conversing. And that was kind of a difficult part to do, because you got to basically get romantic with somebody that you respect as a sister in the Lord. But you had to go into character. So it was difficult, because you got to switch up from, that's my sister in the Lord, to all of a sudden trying to, hey, baby, how you, okay, well, what, get off me, you know what, then get mad at her, and all that. So that whole thing was not easy to do, because you got to go into character. So, but I think it was that scene right there really relates to a lot of the little homies with their girlfriends, and they're young, they love each other, they got puppy love or whatever. And it's every girl's dream to see that, to have that, on the porch with especially back then, that. And even, I think she even says in the movie, right, why don't you come live with me or come stay with me? And I said, nah, she's staying at Crow's house. I said, he ain't got no food in his house. Man, he's a bum. It's like a Torah pad. I said, I ain't moving over there.
That's reality, bro. That's reality.
What's that?
Right there.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Yeah, exactly.
It happened.
So, yeah, so that was that scene was a little bit difficult, because you had to kind of go into, like, literally, embracing her, hugging her, and she's on my knee, and at the end of my knee, and looking at her, and then just, so it was good. It was cool,
More of Pastor Ed's wisdom right there, man.
Right.
Knowing you guys would be married and all that. That's
right.
You guys were already friends at the church, I assume.
Oh yeah, for like 4.5 years before that, and since the time I got saved, she came in at the same time I did. So we met each other in Victory Outreach, but like I said, we were never a boyfriend and girlfriend at that time. When we first got saved, we're like congregants in the church together. We worked the youth together and everything. So we're friends. And I think that's the best way. You always want to become friends with the person that you eventually going to marry. You want to be friends. And then, of course, going into, boyfriend and girlfriend and courting, there's steps that my pastor used to share with us. He said, you need to be friends with people. You need to know how to respect the sisters in the church as friends before any type of this, before this relationship goes anywhere further. Always be friends with each other. So that was a good thing for us that we did,
Yeah, and before I pass it on to Joe, because I know Joe has a bunch of questions. Before I pass it on, what can you tell us the behind the scenes and how the scenes came together with that scene when Duke gets out of jail and he goes sees Gata for the first time in the living room? Can you tell me about that scene? Okay,
I was there. That was filmed in East LA. I want to say around Brooklyn, Soto area. It was an old house. I remember they kicked us out of the house to film, because that scene too, you got to remember, Duke at that time was newly married a couple of years, and Gata Veronica, which is my wife's sister. That's her biological sister. Yeah, that's her sister. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I didn't understand. Pastor Ed goes, hey, you guys need to go outside in the backyard, and they didn't let none of us in there, because I think it was a little bit difficult for them two to get into a little bit, as you can see in the movie, it wasn't real romantic, but the little bit of, as they say in Texas, being chiflada with each other, chiflao, hey, come here, bringing her close. So it was hard for them to get into character with everybody there. So they told us, hey, you guys go outside and let us do this, you know. And so that's when they're on the couch and doing all that. And so it was a little difficult scene for them too, but they did it, you know, they did it. But that was, everybody cleared out of the house. They had us all leave out of the house on that one.
What about all those lines that Duke had, like Zapato, Chili Billy, and all that? What was that?
Hey,
That goes down in Chicano history in the neighborhood. I mean, can you imagine how many guys joke around and use that on their old ladies and probably letters and everything else? I don't know, but Pastor Ed would give. I still have my script. It's a booklet and it says Cisco. I have all that memorabilia. So we all had scripts, but then there would be parts in there. He would say, look, this is the meat of it. This is what I want you to say, but you can go ahead and ad-lib however you feel on the rest of it. So I don't think the Chili Willy, Zapato, all that, that's something that Victor made up, the Duke, because I think he used to say that in the play. He used to say it in the play. And so he made up those lines, and then he just kind of transferred them into the movie, which I believe was a hit. It was hilarious. It was funny. Man. It's every scene, especially back then. It's a typical neighborhood scene where a guy comes out of jail. I don't know if you remember, you see when she goes to the door, he's already combing his hair. He's combing his hair at the door. You can see it through the blinds. Then he comes in. He's been gone for 6 months or a year. So, you know, he can't wait to see her. But at the same time, of course, he wants what he can get. He wants money and he wants relations, you know. So, you know, so it's a typical scene, you know.
Yeah, he was gone a year because she goes,
yeah, a year.
Here's a long time.
Yeah.
I was lonely out here.
Right.
He said about 6 names, so that's like a dude every other month, you know.
Yeah.
The ones he heard about, right?
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Joe.
Says, I was just kissing him. I wasn't doing nothing. He's so you weren't doing nothing, you know.
You tell me when you're with him, you're thinking about me.
Yeah.
Because I made it a lot better, right?
Right. That was a classic. There was a few scenes in the movie that were real classic scenes, man, that really, I think, hit a lot of people, you know. The humor was there. The seriousness was there. A little comical, as you know, but a lot of heartfelt things, you know, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, you know, and all those things mixed into one.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Like I noticed too, another thing, when Cisco they were telling you, you know, hey, what are you gonna rank out like Duke did and Kata, go find God, you know, are you gonna handle this business, you know?
Right.
And you can see where your character was just like, now he took on what Duke had, all that pressure, you know what I mean? Duke all that, he was burned left and right. He had the pressure from his brother, from his own lady, the homeboys, you know, everybody. So then I saw like in that scene, everything got put on your shoulders. You know what I mean? It was
transferred over, kind of like it was. And I think, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Pastor Ed already had it in his mind that the power is going to be transferred to me as his younger brother, because he had plans for Duke of Earl too. You know what I'm saying? So I think he was already thinking, after this is over, I'm going to go into another drama, and then Cisco will become Duke. You know? So I think that was kind of like, he was planning it already through that scene, the transferring of, are you going to take over? Are you going to be the next one? And, you know, all that stuff. So that scene was done in White Fence under the bridge. That's where we filmed that part. And that was a pretty amazing part too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great part, because you can see, like, I don't know, to me, Cisco didn't want to go kill nobody. He didn't want to go. Yeah. He really didn't want to, but the pressure made him go.
The pressure.
I mean, and that's what happens. Honestly, it happens a lot out there in the guys, where the guys, you know what I mean, just the pressure, the homies, let's go handle this, you know?
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, so it was the retaliation, I believe, for Wino. Wino was killed.
Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of looking at Duke's little brother. Duke's kind of like, in a sense, they look at him like he's ranking out. He got saved, so he's not going to take care of business. So you know what? You're the next best thing. Are you gonna handle your business? You know, this is your brother, and he didn't do it, so you need to do it now. So a young guy, how many times does that happen in the neighborhood where there's guys that are probably like good guys, man, but the pressure of having to produce and do something, and maybe if it wasn't even in them, they have to, and it creates a monster.
Yeah.
Not everyone was born a killer. You know, they're not. You know, I don't think so.
True.
But they're put in positions and opportunities to do it. It ignites something inside. They taste blood, and then that's what they fall into, and they continue to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
you know, the devil is out to lie,
right.
deceive. You know what I mean? Destroy everybody, and yeah, you just get that
Right.
spark going, and yeah, it's terrible. But man, that was when Duke got shanked, man. That was like a very,
Touching
powerful
scene.
scene right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy scene too. That was a God moment too, I believe. You know, and the weeping and the crying of how many times that happened today. You know, where somebody's dying in somebody's arms. Now, not too many people are being stabbed like that. Now everybody's being shot. It seems like there's so many mothers that are crying, wives that are crying over their husbands or their boyfriends. So it's real common, you know, real common. So it really touches the soul of a person when you hear a woman crying over their loved one. You know, it's really heavy. You know,
But like
So-
what I heard from your voice when you're holding Duke, right? And you can hear you saying, "No, Duke, I'm sorry, I love you."
an accident.
Like I could hear that. Like, how did that scene go down?
You know what? That was another moment where I had to I had to reach deep down inside, and I had to visualize more or less if my brother was dying in my arms, and it was an accident, how I would feel, and that moment had to be captured because that was the end of the movie, and it really had to touch the heart and the soul of whoever was watching it. So I remember I just let myself go. I just went into as much as emotions as I could muster up inside and cry over. And then of course, I guess you would call it the editing. I think they echoed the voice a little bit more. They did something that makes it sound like a distant or something like that. And yeah, because you know what, in that scene, I now remembering that guy, Sergio, the guy that was pushing me, he got up on the white fit. We're under the bridge, the cement pillars. I can't remember how he did it or what he did. He was up on the pillars, and they got the cameras up there. Because they spent. You seen how it's the cameras are looking down.
Yeah.
If you remember, and that was in White Fence. That was under the bridge. I don't know what bridge that is.
Porch Street.
Yeah. And I remember he got up there. They got him up there. They had to get the equipment up there, and he filmed that from up on top of not on the street side, but underneath the bridge.
Right. Yeah.
I remember it shows Duke and then Gata, and it shows you, but then it starts like panning up. So
Yeah.
Kind of like they had like that resemblance of like Duke's spirit leaving, you know?
Right.
So at the end, I kind of thought like he died, you know?
Yeah.
Until you read everything at the end, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Last night when I watched the review, and Joe, I know you were mentioning about what happened to everybody at the end. Now, as you know, that wasn't true, but this is what Pastor Ed did. Do you guys remember American Graffiti?
Yep.
Yeah.
The movie? Remember at the end where it shows where so-and-so went to Vietnam and died in Vietnam, so-and-so. That's what he did. So I didn't do 10 years in prison, and my wife wasn't a missionary in Mexico, but he made a picture of what took place to these characters, but it's not the reality of it, but kind of like he gave them, this was the reality of their lives in the movie. But so he also, when he put this movie together, he grabbed a lot of stories and people in the church and things that happened, even to his personal life, and he put them all into, this is a reality. This is something that happens every day. So it is a true story because it's the life in the barrio, and that's what happens. So he did decide to, at the end, show all the characters and what became of them, but they didn't actually, I didn't go to prison for 10 years. She didn't become a missionary in Mexico. But if you notice, Joe, Pastor Ed touched on every person. He said, some served the Lord, some became missionaries, some died in prison. He even addressed the backslider. So-and-so, I forgot her name, got saved, but backslid and now is in a mental hospital. So
Yeah.
he wanted to relate to every walk of life in the neighborhood where things get the good, the bad, and the ugly. So he didn't paint a picture of everyone. It was a success story. there was some that got saved but went back to the world and suffered the consequences. So he wanted to still be able to relate to those that maybe have drifted away, that the consequences of sin, you know. So he was very creative.
Yeah,
Very
that was
creative.
like that was real. Because at the end, yeah, I kind of like saw that. I thought
Right.
I knew like the actors didn't go to prison or this, but I thought
Right.
maybe it was like on a true story. But it is a true story because it happens out there in all these different barrios. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you
Right.
have stories everywhere. You know, and
Right.
that's the realism of it all. But so is God's love and His forgiveness.
That's right.
You know, it's all real too. And then Adam, my other question was that carnival scene. Where did that?
Okay, that was in San Jose. That was at the Santa Clara Fairgrounds.
Okay.
That's a place back in the 70s and early 80s where all the oldie concerts would take place. It was the lowrider mecca. All the cars would be there. You know, James Brown would perform there. Junior and the Odyssey, Mary Wells. They would all come in a oldie concert, that, you know, and that was so everyone knew the Santa Clara Fairgrounds in San Jose. It was the place that everyone went for the fair, and actually a lot of problems and fights would go down. That's where all the neighborhoods would come in because all the oldie concerts were going on there. So we happened to be filming at that time, and Pastor Ed, I don't even think he got permission. He just had the camera guys go in there and followed us around and just grabbed clips and then implemented those into the movie. So
Right.
it wasn't done in the right, you know, in the way where got permission from the Santa Clara Fairgrounds to go in and film. He just a la brava, you know, he did it, you know, and it was good, you know.
Did, no problems from the real gangsters?
Oh yeah, yeah, at times, yeah. There was one particular time I'll never forget this. We were doing the Duke of Earl in Arizona, and we were doing the play, and it was my turn on the scene to speak to the audience and do my lines. So I did my lines, and I walked off the stage, and it was dark behind the stage. So as I walked down, somebody grabbed me by my neck and shoved me up against the wall. And I couldn't make out who it was because everybody in the play is dressed, you know, gangster down, right? But I was like, I could smell alcohol, and I felt my collar being twisted and shoved up against the wall. And I couldn't make out who it was. Like, is this somebody I thought it was somebody in the play, but then I smelled alcohol. Well, there was a guy his name was, I had the same name as him, and he is from Orange County. And so.
Was it Joe?
Huh?
Was it Joe?
I don't know.
Just kidding.
And he, nevertheless, he felt I disrespected by using his name and this and that. So I was small. I was younger. He was a bigger guy. He was probably a man already. Probably 25 years old or so. I don't know. But he grabbed me and they had to pull him off me. I was shocked because I didn't even know what was going on. And so there wasn't a lot of those things that happened, but at times things did happen, you know, they did. In Santa Monica, we did the play there. As the people were in line to go into the auditorium, they came by and shot the neighborhood. They shot just randomly. So on occasions, things that happened. Then I told you about the one that was the biggest one in
Tell us about it.
1995 or 96. We were at East LA College. There was 15,000 people in that outside arena, or it's where they have the grass area and then they have the bleachers. Yeah. 14,000 people there. Every neighborhood was there representing. It was almost like Warriors, the movie Warriors, where all those gangs came to that one park. That's pretty much how it was. So as we were getting ready to do the play, this is Duke of Earl 2 with a live band and everything. I'm trying to find it for you, Paul. But anyway, there was words being exchanged in the bleachers. And before you knew it, they just all came together, collided, and were just rumbling. And then it would move to the left, and then would move to the right, and then would move up. They looked like a bunch of ants. That's how many people just fighting, girls, guys, just going at it. It took Pastor Sonny about 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get control of the audience, because we had the Victor obviously had security there. There was some cops there too. They were pulling people off, separating people, and they got everyone to act right after that. They didn't. I was surprised. They didn't throw nobody out. They just separated everybody, you know, put them to their sides, But at the end of the play, those guys that were beat up with, bloodied nose, we see them. They were at the altar getting saved. So it was amazing. But that was probably one of the biggest fights that I've ever seen in doing the play. And somebody has it on film. I'm trying to catch it down because the cameraman spanned the audience, and it was pretty crazy. But we didn't think we were going to be able to do the play because it was out of control. But Pastor Sonny got control of it. Started worshiping God, started singing songs, started getting the attention of the crowd, and he did it. And also with the security that stopped everything.
Yeah, and filmmaking 101, as Joe knows, every good film has a foil or a bad guy. Indio was that bad guy in the play.
He was the villain.
Tell us about Indio, who he was, and you got any Indio stories that you could tell us?
Man, Indio is Robert Mays. He's a good brother, man. I know to this day we keep in contact. He's that villain that everyone hates in the movie. It seemed like, they love him and hate him, and he played a good character. He played a really, really good character. Sneaky, snaky, because as you know, he's lying to Duke in the county jail. Actually, that scene in the county jail, that's the old LA County Jail.
Nice.
That's used for movies, I guess now. It was old back then. And that's where we filmed that scene where he's saying, hey, I set up a phony peace treaty, blah, 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 blah. So Indio's that sneaky guy that's trying to just get through, but still trying to keep himself on top of the game and, running things, but lying and jiving and conniving to get out as soon as he can to start making things happen. So you always got to have, as you know, I'm sure you guys know, my pastor used to tell us, within a play or movie, you have to have like a hero, a villain, romance, and a few other things. I guess maybe a little bit of violence, but all those things play an important role in a movie. So I would say that Indio was the villain that everyone loved to hate, and he was a good character. Good character.
Wow. Yeah, he was definitely a good character. He was the perfect guy for that role, man.
Right.
Everything. I could think of someone from the other side of my neighborhood that was the other side, just like that, man.
Just like
snaky.
There's always an Indio. There's always a Duke. There's always a Cisco. There's always a Shygirl, a Agatha. Everyone could see that knows somebody and that can identify with that person. I think I was telling you, Paul, even when we started doing Duke of Earl 2, what Pastor Ed did, he wanted to be able to relate the gospel to every walk of life. So that's where we had our African-American brothers and sisters in the play. We had, of course, Hispanics. We had whites. He put bikers in there. He put bikers in there before everyone was into all the bikers. He put bikers in there already. He put alternative lifestyles of, homosexual, guys or girls were in there that played the role. And they weren't just like a silent homosexual. They were flamboyant. A few times in the play, he had a guy dressed up like, kind of like guy and girl mixed, and being flamboyant and being real. And it would make the audience, laugh at the same time, but they could identify because they had a son or a daughter that was involved in that. So he tried to touch every type, a mother, a grandmother, black, white, Hispanic, biker, gang member, drug addict. He wanted to relate to everybody. He was ahead of his time in certain aspects. He was, because to us, it didn't make sense. Pastor Ed, why are you putting this particular person in this? It doesn't fit. He said, don't worry about it. You guys don't. Basically, he would say, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And he's right. We were just thinking, let's be Chicano, the barrio. That's it. That was the cap. He said, no, we're gonna speak to everybody, so that person that goes to see the play, they can see their aunt, their uncle, their brother, their sister, their whatever, and just different walks of life. And it was amazing.
Wow.
I kind of get like that love thy neighbor out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You love thy neighbor. So you love your neighbor. You don't know what color or how they live their lives. So like what Pastor Ed, reaching out to gay people or black,
right.
purple, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Reaching out to everybody, because everybody deserves a chance to come to the cross. You know what I mean?
Right. He even put back then in the Duke of Earl 2, he put like punk rockers. They had spikes, and he did all the skaters. dancers, pop lockers. He was smart, man. He really related to everything. And anything that was out, anything that was new, any new music, he would try to put it in there. And he wanted everyone to be able to relate to whoever was watching it. Yeah. Very creative.
I think you saw in the review, I was talking to Joe. So in one of my films, I was trying to get a certain song in there, a certain song in my film, and it was a Christian song, right? And then but this guy whose music it was is owned by, I don't know, he signed to a company just to put one song, a Christian song. It's not even that big.
Yeah.
$200,000. So for one song to put in my film. I'm just like, bye, whatever, right? That's what happens when people sign to those big companies. Right. They lose their soul, you know?
Right.
But
yeah,
how did you guys get all that music in there? Because that would have, like right now to do that would just cost so much money.
I plead the fifth on that. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I heard your review last night, and I said, wow, you know what? I never thought about it. I want to say this, Paul. I could be wrong, because I remember when the music was going in there, and maybe it was easier back then. I don't know. This is 35, 36 years ago.
Yep.
I want to remember, I could be wrong. I think they said if you only play a certain amount of time in it, you can do it, I think, at that time. And as long as it wasn't the full song, but maybe if it was 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, it was okay, I think. But I don't really, that's a good question, but I don't know how they did that really. I knew they brought it up, but I don't remember the details of it.
My thoughts on it are either they just did it, which is
I think they did.
I would have did, or, you know, being that TBN helped, maybe they got it signed off. But
right.
At that time, like there wasn't like the internet now, there wasn't as much
right.
You know,
right.
You know, he could have done a lot cheaper back then compared to now, you know.
I think they're right. I think you're right with that. It's just, you know, it's over 35 years ago. So back then, nowadays, of course, the internet, the artist, whoever wrote a song, if he heard it and saw it and it got back to him, hey, go to YouTube. These people are using your song, or they're using a play. He could, I mean, overnight could give you a problem, and lawyers contact you. So the internet has opened up for everything, you know. So that maybe, so like today, like you said, I'm sure it would be literally almost impossible, or you have to have a lot of money to do it. But back then, maybe we flew under the radar. I don't know, but we did it.
Okay.
Or maybe the artist didn't want Cisco and Duke knocking at their door.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Maybe that's how it went down. But yeah, that was yeah.
Another character, as we're talking about the Vadio, there's always these characters in every neighborhood too. That one white girl who was helping Gata with their homework. There's always
Robin.
them who
Robin.
comes in. How's it?
Her name is Robin.
Yeah, Robin. She comes in, and later on she becomes part of the neighborhood. There's always Robins.
Yeah,
tell us about Robin, and who were her parents?
Her parents were, I believe, they worked for TBN. They worked for TBN, if I remember correctly. They worked for Trinity Broadcasting Network in the media department, whatever. And Sister Julie knew them and asked them to play the part, and they came and they did it, you know. And she gets beat by her dad. He's an alcoholic. Joe described it very well last night when he explained what went on, and that's exactly how it went down, you know. And that was a pretty heavy scene too, because, you know, the mom let him come back. She forgot to tell Robin, oh, I forgot to tell you he's coming back. What do you mean he's coming back? After he beats you and he beats me, you're gonna let him come back? And he gets all mad. Yeah, you know what? I'm back, baby. You better know, you know, I'm back. And you know, that happens every day, you know, every day. And so, yeah, I don't remember their names, but I do remember that they worked for TBN, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a heavy scene. Yeah, no, I was just say that because what we talked about on the last video was that it hit every ethnicity, every financial, you know, it hit everybody. That side of the tracks and this side of the tracks, you know what I mean?
Right.
Pastor Ed showed it right, you know what I mean? Because then it showed the parents looking for Robin, passing out flyers,
Yeah.
having to intermingle with the people he said on those side, on that side of the tracks. You know?
Yeah, but that side of the tracks with those idiots.
Yeah. So now he's asking those idiots, like, have you seen my daughter? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like humbling experience. You know what I
And
mean?
you know, every neighborhood has a girl like that maybe came in or maybe was raised in the barrio and they're white, they're Caucasian, but man, they're Chicano at heart, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people like that, you know? So
Yeah.
every neighborhood has one, you know?
Yeah. Here's my question for you too. It's on Vince, is that the church scene where Gata and Duke walk into the church and
Right.
already there. And I know that's not your scene, but what do you know about that one? Because I felt that one, like when Duke's talking and he gets real emotional. That's another scene right there where I really felt that pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was another God moment. That took place in East LA behind the Hollenbeck police station, that neighborhood back there. There was an old Jewish synagogue. That church was not a regular church. It was a Jewish synagogue. And so as you know, Duke goes in there. He's hurting. Things are going on in his life. He got let's go see this preacher, and they go on. And then when Pastor Ed begins to minister to Duke, when that scene happened, it gets a little mushy, as you could tell, emotion. So even some of us didn't know how, like, is that going to be good for the movie? Because here he's supposed to be the Duke and he's falling apart. But Pastor Ed told us, he goes, every man cries. Every man cries. I don't care how bad they are. I don't care what they've been through. Now, some might cry more than others. But he goes, this scene is going to show, how did he say it? He goes, this is showing what every man does, but nobody admits to doing. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest, baddest gangster, man, could cry. And that hurts when nobody's around and falls apart and does things inside, even though they'll never admit it. But there are some guys that won't cry. There's some guys that are hard as rocks, you know. But he goes, this is going to relate to those men that will never admit it, but know that they had this kind of moment before, you know, where he's broken. So of course, Victor, you know, the Duke falls apart. Everything comes into, and it collides with each other. From his homeboys burning him with his old lady, he tries to help people out. They stick him and stick him in the back. They turn their backs on him. Everything just finally hits him, and he's just saying, "Is this what it's all about?" Everything that I'm trying to keep together as the neighborhood and how good it really is. In reality, it's not good. Like Pastor used to say, you can love the barrio, but the barrio will never love you back. In that sense, you know. And so he brought that scene in there where the guy finally comes and you know, Duke cries and says, and he just has a moment where everything falls apart. And that's where Pastor is saying, this is God, Duke. God loves you, man. God is dealing with your heart. And he goes, man, yeah, but every time I try to do this, and I try, you know. So it was a moment too. That was another moment, you know, and those were real. That wasn't rehearsed. Victor, he got into character, really shared his hurt, you know.
Yeah. I felt that one too. That's one of the scenes where I was like, wow, you know, and I'm talking to you like when I was like maybe like 15, 16 when I was watching this, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was like, wow. But like you said, everybody cries, everybody has that moment, because that's why everybody is made with tear ducts, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Yeah. So
that's right.
Yeah, that was a powerful scene, and thank you for sharing that with us too. You know? Yeah.
That was good. It was a good scene. Good scene.
Yeah.
That's a real important scene too, you know.
Yeah, and I noticed that. Okay, back to the carnival scene, or what you were saying.
Yeah.
When they all had those jackets.
Right.
What happened to those jackets?
You know what? My wife still has one. I have one here.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. I'm here to ask the questions I need to be asked.
Yeah, I agree, brother. Hey, cause we want to know all these years we want to know all these behind the scenes, bro.
Yeah.
We might dig a little deep, bro, but hey, man, we got the guy in front of us. Let's ask.
You know what?
Yeah.
He has it put up. I thought it was in my closet right here. I have the Duke of Earl jacket here, but I don't have the brown one. She has it put away with her stuff. And I don't know if she could hear me or not. If she could get it, I think she would have to look for it.
But
yeah,
not, we could do it when we have you two on. You know?
Yeah.
You could bring out the memorabilia. That would be sweet.
Right. I could do that.
I'm like big into that. So like when we just finished doing a movie that's not out yet, but a lot of little things I kept from set, you know, to like people, oh, you could toss that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep that because I was on film, and you never, this hits big, it's memorabilia. You know what I mean?
Memorabilia. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff from over the years, clothing. I have the original, like I said, the script from the movie for Shygirl and Cisco. A lot of pictures, a lot of stuff over the years.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was at, like I said, that was at the Santa Clara Fairgrounds where the jackets, you seen everybody with their jackets on, you know.
Hey, the guy that they threw in to dance with the poppers.
Yeah.
Some guy, was that one of your guys' friends?
Yeah, that was one of the guys from the church. His name is Russell Tabaldo. He's in the San Jose church. They just kind of they just randomly threw him up there, and he just started. He didn't know what he was doing. They were just messing around. But Paul, I was sharing with you the other day. We've lost a lot of members, a lot of guys and girls that have passed away in the movie, and as the years go on, we lose a little bit more sometimes, and it's sad to say some of them have turned out tragic, but some have just went on to be with the Lord. And here recently we lost Indio's girlfriend, the one that he's under the bridge with. She has a purple top on. She goes, I thought I was your old lady, You still with your wife? She passed away about 1.5 years ago, and her name was Pati, and we lost Beryl, we lost Chino. Of course, we lost our pastor. We lost another gal, Beryl's girlfriend, actually in the movie. She's behind the counter when they're all drinking. She passed away here recently. There's been a good handful of, I would say, 5, 6, 7 people that have passed away, in the movie. So Wino's doing good. Wino, he's getting ready to retire from the county of Santa Clara, San Jose, either the city or the county. He's getting ready to retire. I haven't seen him in years. I did hear that he had lost his wife. I think he's single right now. He lost his wife. He's raised his kids. He's a good guy, really, really good man. But I haven't seen him in years. But yeah, I think he's doing well.
Hey Joe, do you remember when they were doing the party scene, when they were doing like the Soul Train line? Remember that? Remember when Wino, when he came down the line, he just walked through.
Yeah, all drunk.
With his beer.
Like stumbling left to right. Like,
yeah, he didn't even do that.
What did Duke? He did the snorkel or whatever.
The swim. Victor was doing the swim. Yeah.
That was
that's Shygirl. That's where Shygirl comes and mops up Robin, on the floor.
Yeah. I mopped the floor up with yeah. That's what I was like, Paul, like she wanted to like degrade her, and it wound up that they got all the attention to Robin,
Right.
It just like backfired. That was another push for her to go to the Lord. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. That scene got real physical. You couldn't, fake that one. That one got, nobody got hurt, but it got real physical. You had to make it look real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the scene when you guys the rumble and everybody together? Where did that happen?
That was in Garrity. Up on the top in City Terrace. That's where we filmed that. And I was telling Paul that we had to ask permission from the homies to go in there. And so they told us it's fine. You guys can come in. Just don't respect our neighborhood. Don't write on our walls. And you guys can film as long as you want. But I was telling Paul, those guys, we filmed up there in Garrity for 24 hours. And when we filmed there, those guys came in shifts, guys from the neighborhood. They were watching us from across the street from a house. And when there was about 8 or 9 guys, and as those guys would leave, 8 or 9 more guys would come in. And then they would leave other guys. They kept a constant watch on us and watched everything. They were drinking their beer, but watching us. But they just watched and made sure that everything was good. But we asked permission. They brought in the trailers, the lights, brought in cars. Cop cars came in during the Rumble. It was a big scene. We were tired. I remember that night. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
Just exhausted.
Yeah. That's one of the things of set life I hate. Like, I can't imagine, like, I'm not an actor, I'm a producer. I'm more in the behind the lens, but all these guys like Joe, sometimes he acts, man, all those hours waiting just to get your call.
Yeah,
That's horrible, man.
it was a lot. It was a lot. It's something we'd never experienced. You know, we're so used to doing drama, but when you're actually in front of the camera, your expressions, you know, getting into the character, your feelings, your emotions, the anger, the postures, everything was just, we're not professionals. We just did the best that we could, you know?
Yeah, and then how far a stretch was it from, like, let's say the way you and Duke were dressing and the way like Gata and Shygirl were dressing from your real dress? Like, how
Pretty
far
much
was
the
it?
same.
Huh?
Pretty much the same.
Was it?
I mean, there's pictures. I have pictures of my wife as a young chola. She looked just like that. The only thing is they packed on more makeup on there because when we were doing the dramas, Pastor Ed would always tell us we have to over exaggerate everything on stage because people that are in the back of the audience, the last person, they have to be able to see and be able to see what's on stage. So they over exaggerated the makeup. Although cholas did wear it like that, but they really over exaggerated the makeup so it could look good from the audience. So when we filmed the movie, they just kind of did the same thing. They left the makeup on like that, but she pretty much looked like that as a young lady that I've seen. She same dress, kind of clothes, everything, makeup, and now but Gata wasn't into that. Gata wasn't a chola. She was a girl that lived in the neighborhood and all that, and I knew the guys and everybody, but she wasn't into the gang life. You know, my wife was Ginger. She was from a neighborhood in the South Side called Littletown, and she was from that neighborhood as a young girl. And so some of the people that were in the movie had never been part of that lifestyle. And then majority of them were. But yeah.
Wow. Was Robin just a regular girl, or was she a...
He was Robin had two sisters, Valerie and Laura. If you see Dimples in the movie,
yeah,
that's her sister. Kind of like biker girl. That's her sister.
Pirate, the bandana like a pirate.
Yeah, that's her. That's Dimples. And I think they show a story about her at the end. I can't remember if she's one of the last. I think she is. I can't remember. Anyway,
Guys,
these
like
three girls.
Crash or something.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
I don't memorize this stuff, though.
Those three girls got saved and came into Victory Outreach, and they were never involved in none of that stuff. But they just got saved in San Jose, Victory Outreach, and got involved in the drama. And you know, like I said, Pastor Ed would use different people that would come in, you know, whites, blacks, you know, Hispanics, whatever. And they did good. They all did good, you know.
You know, after watching Duke of Earl Part 2, I would wonder sometimes, was Robin Dimples? You know, were they the same person?
Yeah, no, they're
now I know
sisters.
they look the same.
Yeah, they're sisters. Just like Shygirl and Gata, they're sisters, you know. That's my sister.
Wow.
Whatever happened to Stretch?
Stretch doing good, man. Kenny Vidal, he's a good dude, man. He's still there in San Jose. He goes to another church, a Cathedral of Faith. He's doing good, involved in ministry, married, has a good job. He's just doing good, doing real good. He keeps in touch with me on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Doing good.
Before we go on to other things really quick, I wanted to ask, how is Pastor Ed's wife?
Sister Mitzi's doing great. She's doing great. That is our spiritual mother. We keep in contact with her. She's there in San Jose. She's part of the ministry there in San Jose. One of the ministers, she preaches, shares, disciples women, still travels around, speaks at different engagements, but she's very well. She's doing good. It's been a number of years since Pastor Ed has went on to be with the Lord. And she is just enjoying her life, enjoying her children and her grandchildren, and just doing the will of God. You know, she's a soldier.
Man, just send her love from us, because the vision her and Ed had affected our lives. Even though we don't go to Victory Outreach.
Right.
Incredible. Thank her, man. And tell her, please keep the vision alive, this movie. And thank you for keeping the vision alive. And for those of you out there who don't know, on Facebook, there is a Duke of Earl legacy page that Cisco and Shygirl started. So follow that page, get on there and like it, share it, and spread it. And he goes on there once in a while and shares. He shares old pictures, and you'll probably see some of the cast on there. So it's pretty cool. Have you got on there yet, Joe?
No, I haven't. I
Yeah,
haven't.
I meant to
Joe, it's the Duke of Earl Legacy page on Facebook. Duke
Yeah.
of Earl Legacy.
I'll be on there. I'll be on there today.
Yeah, it shows
descriptions,
everything.
everybody. Go down there in the descriptions of this video, and you will see there. We'll also have a link to get in contact if you want to watch Pastor Vincent's sermons from his church out in Texas. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to get to. I have
Right.
questions like that when we have you and Shygirl together. But I wanted to ask you, so you're in San Jose, I believe. Did you stay there until you went out to Texas?
Yes, correct.
And also, where did you learn? Did you ever come on staff, or how did you learn ministry? And how did you get sent out? And how did all that work?
Okay. So getting saved in Victory Outreach San Jose, Pastor is constantly discipling us, working with us, and he was a sender. He used to send out churches. He was always sending out churches. But for many years, I didn't plan on going anywhere. I just felt I was going to be there in San Jose, helping him, in ministry and leadership and doing all that. And in 1997, late 1996, early 97, we started feeling the call to want to go out. And I had never really felt that to go. I just always felt I was going to be there. But over all the years, he's always worked with us. We always did ministry with him, Bible studies, life groups. We had life groups and home Bible studies, rallies, discipleships. We were always involved. So it wasn't like it wasn't like we were just in the play and that was it. We were involved in everything. But in the late 90s, we really felt the call, and so I mentioned it to my pastor. I said, Pastor Ed, I really feel I want to go out. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, and I had two other brothers that were already pastoring in Victory Outreach. And so he said, he kind of looked at me puzzled because I've never really expressed that I wanted to go out, but I really felt the call. I really felt called to go out. He said, okay, are you sure you want to do this? I said, yeah. I had a good job. I worked for the city of San Jose. By this time, I probably would be retiring right now. I would be retiring. I would have a lot of years in. And I had a good job. My wife worked for the county of Santa Clara. We had 3 kids. We were functioning people in society. We were leaders in the church, but we felt the call to go. So he said, okay, are you willing to quit your job and do all that? And I said, yeah. He said, okay. He goes, we're going to put you on the launching pad, but you could go anywhere. I said, okay. He goes, are you particular where you want? Are you more wanting to be here or there? And I said, Pastor, I'll go wherever you guys want us to go. Wherever the need is. He said, okay. So I almost went, believe it or not, I almost went to Moreno Valley, is what I heard. They had a replacement there many, many years ago. I could have ended up there. I almost went to Hawaii. And then there was a couple other places that he told me, hey, are you ready to go if they do send you? I said, yeah. So nevertheless, I didn't go to any of those places, but he told me, what about Texas? And I said, where? He goes, Austin. I go, oh, yeah, amen. He goes, okay, I want you to go look at that city, fly over there, you and Ginger, look at it, scout out the land, and come back and give me a report. So it was me and my wife, Ginger, and 2 other guys went. We looked at the city. And Austin is a real growing, vibrant city. It's blowing up. And so I looked at it and I came back and I said, Pastor Ed, I feel it. I'll go. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. He said, okay, we're going to send you. So I quit my job with the city. My wife quit her job with the county. We packed up our we had a little Regal, 91 Regal or a 1990 Regal, little 4-door. Packed up all our belongings, our personal papers. My 3 kids in the back, no furniture, nothing, just papers, important papers and clothing. And we came out here to Austin. And that was 22 years ago. We started the church in a neighborhood called Dove Springs and started in our house. And we began to reach people in the neighborhood. We began to grow, got our first building 9 months later, our first storefront, grew a little bit more, made about 3 or 4 more moves after that. And then just 2 years ago, we bought our land. We bought 3 acres here in the city of Austin. That two buildings on there. We have our men's home, their own facilities, their own sanctuary. Then we have our building next to it. It's on 3 acres, right in prime area where it's growing all over. And so God's been faithful to us, and He's met us every single step of the way. So it's been 22 years now, and so This is our home now. This is home.
Incredible. Now, when you first went out, did they send people to help you guys?
Usually they do, but this particular time, it's funny you bring that up, because when I went out, Pastor Ed was just starting to film 16 to Life. So he was really preoccupied with doing a lot of things in the church, with the movie, and with launching out churches and just doing ministry. And he said, listen, I'm not going to be able to send anybody right now with you guys, but I could probably send you a home director or, one or two guys, but I can't send like a team. And I said, it's okay, and so, but they financially support us for a year. That was the main thing. That for one whole year, they support you. And then you have to fly on your own. So of course, San Jose, we love our home church. They sponsored us and took care of us for the year. And then after a year, you have to have something going on where revenue is coming in, tithers and givers. And so that's how that went down. But as far as a lot of people going out to help us, there wasn't a whole lot at that time. But we were still able to pioneer the church.
That is incredible. I love the stories of faith like that, bro.
Yeah. Amen.
When you guys were there doing it out of your house when you first got there,
yes.
What did you guys do? Start a Bible study, go out evangelizing?
We would hit the streets, and then we had a Wednesday night service, and then we had a Friday night prayer service, and then we had Sunday morning. We did everything in my house. We moved the couches over, put chairs out, and just started just like a regular service, preached, teached, discipled, and did all that until we finally got a building 9 months later. And so it's just the grassroots of just starting and pioneering, and it was a culture shock for me coming to Texas, because I wasn't familiar with anything. I wasn't familiar with the people. Like in California, you could tell a gang member. You could tell the way he looks, the way he carries himself. In Texas, you can't tell. A guy could look regular. You might see a little hints of him involved in something, but not really. But then you get into their life, they're involved in all kinds of things. So we had a hard time identifying who's who. It really was difficult. We kind of it took us a long time to really grab the heart and who is who and what's going on. And then by the time I got here, the gang thing was kind of leaving. It wasn't really big, right? It was kind of dying out. It was more just kind of like into drugs. People were dealing. There wasn't like neighborhoods, like you can't go in there. It wasn't that. It's not really set up like that here in Texas, like it is in California. But believe it or not, Paul, you're going to be blown away by this. The Duke of Earl is not a hit here in Austin.
That's incredible.
We show it, and they look at it like they can't identify. I've showed it probably 2 or 3 times, because they really look at it like it's unbelievable, like they can't relate to it, Now, if you go to San Antonio and Dallas and even Houston, it hits harder. But here in Austin, maybe the Lord made it that way because we couldn't hitchhike off the movie and say we built our church over the movie.
Maybe.
Yeah, we did it, and we couldn't. We would show it, but they would look at it like they didn't understand.
Hey, Joe, where when you go to Texas all the time, where are you going?
Laredo, Texas.
Oh, Laredo.
Yeah.
Laredo, yeah.
Way by the border.
That's a border town right there. Yeah, we've been to San Antonio, Laredo. We've been to Austin. Austin's a really great town right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You been here before, Joe?
What's that?
You been here to Austin?
Yeah, I passed through there. Yeah.
Oh, passed through. Yeah.
I passed through there, but it's great, man. I love the scenery. You know what I mean? Just the way the people are. People are so friendly in Texas.
Yeah.
And I've been in San Antonio, Laredo, all the way up to Demet, Texas, up in the Panhandle. So I've been all over.
Okay, I got 2 questions, man, and these are hardball questions. First of all, have you turned to the evil side and become a Dallas Cowboys fan?
You know what? Altogether, what I do, Paul, as I stay away from the NFL teams, I just like football. It gets too crazy, man. I mean, my son-in-law, diehard Cowboy fan. 95% of my church are Cowboy fans or Houston fans, and so to be the man that's able to keep peace with everybody, I just say I love football. Yeah. I love a good game, but I do like the Longhorns. I like the college here at UT. I like the Longhorns, but I'm not a big Cowboy. If they're playing, amen, I'll cheer them. If Houston's playing, I'll cheer them. If I see the Raiders playing, I just like football. But to say that I have people in my church that bought me Cowboy jerseys and I haven't worn them, you know, and their pastor, come on, you got it. And I said, all right, you know. But I try not to get into it because, man, it gets real competitive, man. Super competitive.
Very competitive because he's just trying to throw that stick at me. See, and he's always teasing me about the Cowboys all the time, man.
Right.
I'm gonna have to blur that out, bro. I'm gonna blur that out, dude.
Man,
that is easy, bro. Okay, the second question. This is a hardball one too. Do you own a cowboy hat or boots?
No, I don't. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to buy me some cowboy boots, but not the kind you would think that are, you know, pointy and a big old heel in the back. They have some really nice boots. I kid you not. And I haven't bought a pair, but I'm going to because I'm ready now. And they have some really beautiful shoes with white stitching. They almost look like the old school, you know, shoes you wear back home, you know, white stitching around the edge and the black or brown, real nice shine to them. But they're not with the heel and they're not tapered. They're just really a really nice boot. I don't have a pair, but I am going to get some.
Yeah, not the one that comes out and goes up.
Yeah.
So no Ponderosa hat yet?
No, I don't. You know what? That's the misconception of Texas. People think, oh, does everybody ride horses? Do they cowboy hats and all? You don't even see none of that hardly ever here at all, at least in Austin. I don't. And now you'll see the Tejanos and you'll see that at times, but it's not prominent. Like everyone's walking around with spurs but I'll tell you one thing: everyone packs.
Yeah.
Everyone has a gun over here. Yeah.
Open carry? Is it open?
Yeah. And it's really like I have people in my church that carry. They do, and they pack. But they're licensed to carry. You know, I have a gun. I don't carry, but I have one in my house. You know, it's just my freedom to have that.
Of course.
It's pretty. Everybody packs over here. Everybody does.
You see Joe. He's like World War II ammo back there, man.
Oh, really?
100 guns, huh?
You know, it's a hobby. It's a hobby.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's an incredible venture of faith.
But Texas is a great place for us. This is our home now, and God has been good to us. You know, we're in the will of God, so wherever the will of God is, He gives you peace. I raised my kids here. You know, they're done well. They're married now. They're doing good. They've got professions. It's been a great place to raise my kids. A great place. So we're grateful to God. We own a house here now. We all have our church building we bought. Building our church, reaching our city, and doing what God has called us to do.
At what point do you start thinking about a successor?
Wow, that's a good question. Probably now. No, I don't know. I think about the future, and I think about the future ministry and what it's going to look like, who's in place. Am I going to do this forever? I mean, you know, us Victory Outreach preachers and pastors, we don't retire. We just keep going till the Lord takes us, you know.
Right.
But of course, I'm always looking, even in the future, who would be, how the church would look, and who would be, you know, doing the ministry once we're gone, you know. And that's where leadership comes in, and that's where, you know, give a lot of thought. I just feel like I have a lot of more years. I'm 55, but I feel good. I don't have nothing wrong with me. You know, I'm pretty healthy. I don't take no medication, so I don't give it a whole lot of thought, but I've given it thought, but not a whole lot, because I still feel the best is still yet to come. I do. And so I feel good, and me and my wife feels the same way. We feel strong, vibrant. We're empty nesters. Our kids are gone. We have our own house. We're able to really focus on ministry more now because our kids are gone. We got grandkids now and stuff, you know, but we're good, you know. But that is a good question, and I probably need to give it a little bit more thought as the future years come.
Yeah, I only asked because I was sitting with my pastor and a couple of guys, and he's 55, and he was talking about he's starting to think about it more. You know, think about it more. You know that. Start praying about.
I haven't given it a lot of thought, but I thought about it, but not a lot. I just feel like I have so much more to give, to give back and to do things. So, yeah.
As we're winding it down, Joe, do you have any more questions?
No, you were talking about how you left your job, up here in San Jose with the retirement and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and you let that go to do God's work. You know what I mean? And that's a great thing, because I know right now your retirement with Him is
Yes.
up there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's the best, any kind of retirement. That's like what do you call that? When people lose their money in the stock markets and stuff, and recession proof,
Right.
recession proof retirement right there, brother.
Yeah.
We really
Right.
appreciate you, and just God bless you guys with Duke of Earl, with the past, with everybody that was in that film, and you're still reaching people. It's still, and hopefully with us talking about it and having a conversation about it, it'll reach even more people, the younger, the youth right now. They'll go back and they see what this is all about, and just pray that it just continues to reach the young, not necessarily just gangsters, but just anybody that runs into problems out there and that needs God,
Right. Amen. Hey, Joe, if you're ever coming to Texas again, hit me up, man. Love to take you to have some barbecue. Also, yourself, Paul, if you're ever over here, Paul, love to have you guys, man.
You sabes, dude.
Thank you. I've been eating some taco palenque, Yeah, we'll be over there. We used to go every year to visit my in-laws, but now they moved with us, so we can care for them. So yeah, so we're taking care of them now. But
nice.
Never know, man. We might go back there, to visit the other family that's out there. And
right.
I'll definitely give you a call. Same thing for you. If you're ever in this neck of the woods, call us, man. We'll get together and we can fellowship together.
Yeah, me and Joe live exactly. The middle point for us is like the Mother Church in Chino.
Right.
I live in OC. He lives in the high desert in Hesperia. It's like the middle spot. So if you're ever down, we could do some lunch.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something really quick, because this is I was talking to Vince on the phone, I think this morning or last night, and we were talking about, there's always going to be other people who hate, on movies, stuff like that. I just want to say this movie, I think, was done very well. Now, I want you to think about this time. 1984, they're filming it. What other Chicanos, other than Zoot Suit, were making films for the Raza? We're making Chicano films. How many can you think of? They were doing it back then.
Yeah.
So think about that. They were doing it long before we all did,
Right.
And so I just give you guys a lot of props. All the cast that'll be watching this later, just thank you. Victor, Duke, Shygirl, Gata, man, all you guys, man, you guys did a wonderful job. And I was telling Joe the seeds from that play, when we were watching it like 14, 15-year-old, I believe that we're the fruit, partially of what Pastor Ed.
Right. Amen.
And so it's a blessing. And name me 3 people besides Pastor Ed who played a pivotal role in your walk with God.
Wow. The Duke did, Victor, in the early years. We all looked up to him. Like I told you on the phone earlier, I think he was the oldest guy in the church, and he was 21 or 22 at the time. So seeing him, knowing where he came out of, and him is like, back then, even like a leader in the church, we looked to him, and he would kind of like a big brother, would keep us in check and share with us. So we looked to him. We did look to, I did, at least I did. I looked to him as an example. But you're talking the early years, the real early years?
Any years.
Yeah. Pastor Ed, he, of course, I can't use it, but he was like our everything. He really, really was, and you got to remember, at that time when we all came in, we were the pioneers of the church. So there was only a few that we could look to. And really, Pastor Ed played that main role because all of us were new in the Lord. Victor was a little bit older in the Lord also. He had already been saved about a year. So we kind of looked to him. But we were the ones that were kind of like setting the foundation for those that came, that they would look to us. So we didn't have a whole lot in front of us that were physically in front of us. We were all in this together, So I would say, Victor played a role in that. And Mark, actually, Wino, Wino, he was one of the older guys in the church too at that time. And I'm talking about the early years when I got saved that we would look to. and real spiritual guys, loved the Lord, discipled and shared with us. So they kind of played a big role, other than Pastor Ed, and maybe a couple of more others I can't remember, but we were all just kind of like just started serving God in the early years together.
And what about Pastor Sonny? Sonny
Of course. But you got to remember, back then we didn't know him as much as we do now. I mean, we knew he would come, but the outreach was changing. So these are the early years. I mean, outreach was around a long time before that in LA, but it was new to us in San Jose. So of course, he was our man. When we saw him and he preached, our hearts, were drawn to like this great leader. He impacted our lives tremendously. There's also a guy by the name of, you might even know him, Pepe Montenegro. He has the church, I think, is it Praise Chapel, I think, in Highland Park area, I think.
Pep?
Yeah, do you know him from the Avenue?
Yeah. He's from Calvary Chapel.
Calvary Chapel.
Yeah.
He was the best man at my wedding.
No
and,
way.
Yeah.
That's funny because I'm going to be having Pep on in a few weeks.
Are you really? Oh, yeah. Me and Pep go way back in the early years. I really looked up to him as far as Southern California, meeting some young guys that were serving God, and really he was a great example to me. And he became the best man at my wedding. And to see what he's doing now I guess in the Highland Park area,
yeah.
church out there and all that. So, but I really looked to him too. He was another man I'd look to. Because I ended up, like I told you before, I ended up moving to LA and going to LABI, Latin American Bible College, right there in La Puente. So Pep was around and he was there. So I looked to a lot of the guys over there too that impacted my life, that was shared with me a lot of things. So he played a big role too.
That's cool. And lastly, my last question for you is, I want you to share something to the camera. One, for those people who have been knowing you for all these years, not personally, but through the movie, what word do you have for them that may be fans of the movie? And two, what about those people who don't know Jesus that are watching this right there? What would you say to both of them?
Well, the ones I would say that are fans of the Duke of Earl over a number of years, what I would say to them is how God is able to grab somebody that's a nobody, and he's able to put his spirit inside them, and he's able to use a person that's broken, that's willing to do whatever. And sometimes people put us on a little pedestal, like, man, you guys are this, or Duke of Earl. We were nobodies. We were just people ordinary people, lost, needed direction. But God was able to grab our lives and make our lives purposeful. And that's why I feel, if I was to die tomorrow, Paul, I lived a blessed life. I have. I've been blessed. I feel like I'm pursuing my purpose. And it all starts with the seed, like you mentioned. And that seed was planted in my life. And this is what I do know. When you take the little that you have as a young man and you place it into the hands of the master, little becomes much, as they say, when you place it in the master's hands. And that's what I feel like I did as a young man. I got saved when I was 15, 16 years old. I placed my life in his hands, and he made much out of the little that I gave him. I never imagined in my life that I would ever do the things that I've done, traveled around, the movies and all that. But my life has been blessed through that. And it's only because of God. It's only because of God. Because if I wouldn't have got saved, God only knows where I would have been. Maybe dead, maybe in prison, maybe living a okay life, but an okay life without God. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what my life would have became of, but I know the way I was raised, and I know that the things I experienced as a young man, and a lot of violence in my home. My dad was a professional fighter, a boxer. He went to the Olympics. He was a Marine. He raised us a certain way. A lot of fighting, a lot of violence went on in our home, a lot of alcohol. And so I knew my life where it was going, but the Lord intervened, and my dad got saved and brought us to Victory Outreach and shared the love of God with us. So all those that have watched us over the years and are fans were ordinary people that God has used because we placed our lives in his hands, and little became much when we placed our life in his hands. And now he's taken us to places and done things in our lives that I could only some people can only dream of, you know. And to those that possibly aren't saved and they're going to watch this, you might look at the play or the movie, or you might be in a situation yourself where there's a lot of heartache and pain in your family, a lot of brokenness, maybe addiction, maybe abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, even physical abuse. No matter what situation you might be in, and you're listening to this whole review and you're saying, how does my life fit into what they're talking about? If you remember anything we say here, we laughed a lot. We talked about the movie and it talked about different things. But if you can remember anything that we talked about tonight or today, is that Jesus loves you, man. He loves you so very much, and he cares about you. And he wants to mend your broken heart. He wants to give you a purposeful life, something to worth living for, that we don't have to live month after month and year after year in vain, in vanity, living without any hope or a future. He wants to give you a purpose. He wants to give you a future. He wants to bless your life. He wants to deliver you. You might be in jail or prison. I know, Paul, that some of these YouTube channels go into prisons. They watch this stuff. So you might be incarcerated. You might be in one of these prisons in California or in Texas or Colorado, and you hear my voice, and you've been a fan, you've been watching a movie for years or kind of intrigued by where everybody's at. This is a Holy Ghost setup. God brought you to this channel, not just to hear the history of the movie and the play, but it's a divine appointment that if you're in a jail cell or a prison or an institution, God loves you. He loves you. He wants to save you. He wants to deliver you, and he wants to do great things in your life. I'm blessed today because I gave my heart to Jesus. And I pray that today that you would give him a chance. You tried everything else. You tried the low riding, the gang banging, the drugs, the alcohol. You tried all those things. Now it's time to try Jesus and give him your heart and give him your life, because he's coming back soon. We're in this COVID thing, this COVID-19. The world is in an uproar. A lot of people they're in the pandemic thing going on. They're in their homes, quarantined. A lot of people are confused. A lot of people are depressed. A lot of people have anxiety. A lot of people are wondering about our future. This is the best time as men and women to come to the altar of God to say, God, we don't know what the future looks like, but we know that you know all things and you're in full control of everything. So I trust you, Lord. I'm going to give you my life because I know if I give my heart to you, that it's in your hands and you're going to take care of us and you're going to work things out for the good. So I encourage you, if you're here and you're listening to my voice, give Jesus a chance in your life. Amen.
Man.
Awesome. Great words. And I encourage you out there, man. We'll be praying for you guys. We prayed before we started recording that this message would touch you, you know.
Amen.
And Joe, any last words?
Yeah, just once again, thank you to you, Paul, for having me on. With
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Yes, and thank you to Vince, for letting me join you guys on this conversation. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to meet you, and just thank you guys big time. Because my last thing to Paul is that, go Cowboys.
You got you, Paul. Got you.
I'm gonna blur that out, bro. Blur, bro. Like when they try to edit the dirty movies they show on TV, they put the blurs and all that. Or when they try to witness,
Oh, what are you, Raiders or Rams, or what are you?
Rams, bro.
Rams, huh?
Kid. This guy's a ranker and he can't be trusted.
All right. I heard the Hyenas run that Rams team.
But how do they watch your sermons? How do they follow your church and you?
You can go to Victory Outreach Austin Facebook Live or Facebook page, or Victory Outreach Church, Austin, Texas. You can, of course, follow our page, and you'll see I preach every Sunday online because of what's going on right now. We're able to just do that right there in our lobby. I just do a small service, but when we go back into services, of course, praise and worship and the whole 9 yards, But yeah, just go to our Victory Outreach Austin, Texas, and log on to our page and like our page, and you can see what we're doing.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. So also, you can follow Joe at Joe Castro. Joe, where do they follow you again?
It's on Instagram. It's actor underscore producer underscore Big Joe, and on Facebook Joe Castro.
Yeah, and
Amen.
also I really want to encourage you guys that there's a Victory Outreach Legacy page on Facebook. Go to it, like it, and also down in the description. I was wrong on the last video me and Joe did we did a part 1 of this whole Duke of Earl week. We did a review of the movie. Over there, I said that I couldn't find it to buy. Well, Vince Cisco had told me there's a place where to buy the movie. So under the description, we're going to be putting that so you could go there and order the Duke of Earl movie. Support it, buy it here, because this is the place that's going to support the gospel.
Amen. Paul, they can go to pastoredmorales.com. Real easy.
Nice.
A capital P, pastoredmorales.com. It takes you to the website, and that's where the Duke of Earl movie is remastered. And the one that's in charge of that whole website is Ruben Magos and Mitzi Magos, which is Pastor Ed's daughter and son-in-law. And they have movies. They're remastered. They're in a really nice holder that holds the video or the DVD. And you could also see his preachings, all the stuff about Pastor Ed on that website, pastoredmorales.com.
Awesome. And we'll have the link too for that in the descriptions. So like I said, if you're going to buy the movie, sure, it's on YouTube, but if you want to support the ministry and the vision and the legacy of Pastor Ed, buy it there, because you're pouring into the kingdom,
Right.
And also support Victory Outreach Austin with Vince and Ginger, Cisco, and Shygirl. They're going to be coming up with a lot more stuff, T-shirts and all that. But this is only part 2 of our Victory Outreach series. So Joe and myself are going to be back with Vince, Cisco, and Ginger Shygirl next episode, which is going to be online next week on the More Creative Films podcast. I thank you both, Joe and Vince, for coming on. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody out there, seek the Lord while he may be found.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. God bless.